Okay, I wanted to start talking about my stint at Santa Monica Bay Physicians, one of the more memorable places that I worked for. Memorable and because things happened there, like the earthquake, the '84 earthquake happened when I was there, and the whole O.J. Simpson incident where they were looking for him with the helicopters. I don't have the date on me, but it was before it was like the day he was arrested, I guess. That happened when I was working there. So, anyway, and also it's memorable because it was just kind of a very stressful job lots of times, and so it's like so in a lot of bad ways. It was memorable because it was not the best job in the world. So, company in the world. I got the job. It's like the man named Bob Vasey. Was the CFO, the controller. I think he was CFO. Anyway, they hired him because one of the doctors, Dr. Feldman, um, he, one of the he was, I think, a partner doctor. Anyway, he knew him, and he was Bob Vasey was a CPA, and but they hired him as administrator, and I don't think he'd been working there for very long, maybe a few months before I, started working there. He might have been a good CPA, but he was just like a really shitty administrator, just like the fucking worst administrator. Um, he, and he was. Anyway, he hired, and it was like a hit and miss kind of thing. The people he would hire, he'd hire some good people, and then he'd hire some bad people. And I know one of the woman that worked in, I don't remember her name, she worked in HR. She mentioned the same thing, that it was kind of interesting that he would it was like kind of hit and miss. Sometimes he'd hire somebody that wasn't good, and sometimes he'd hire somebody really good. Anyway, and she got hired after I did, probably about at least 6 months later. But anyway, and when I went there for an interview, it's like I started working there like around, I think it was 92, maybe 93. It was 93, was probably the beginning of the year, and I think I left sometime in the summer of 94. Anyway, it's like sometime in the middle of the year. Anyway, so at the time, the economy was really bad, and and you couldn't just pick and choose jobs and stuff. So it's like when I was there, when I got hired there, it's like I accepted a lower than normal pay. He was kind of cheap too. One of the things about him is that he was a really cheap guy, even though it wasn't his money that I was paying for. I know the woman I replaced, and I don't remember her name. She was making, I think, at the time, 60 grand. Which was like normal. And it's like, that may not sound like a lot of money now, but remember, it was like 92, 93 wages for it was a finance director was the name of was the title of the job. Anyway, so I was hired as for $46,000 a year. The entire time I was there, I did not get a raise. And I don't think I even asked for one because he was such a jerk, that he would have probably just gotten mad at me, so I just didn't bother. But the interesting thing is, I would say within 6 months of having the job, I was looking for another job, and it took me like a year to find another job. Because the economy, we were kind of in a recession at the time, and the economy was crappy, and those kinds of management type jobs are they're hard to come by anyway. So it was even worse. So because of that. So anyway, but I eventually found another job. But anyway, I was there for I would say a good year and a half, and it was it's like so I was there. Let's see. What was I going to say about it? So I got hired, and the woman, it's one of the rare instances where it wasn't very common that the person that was still there that had the job, lots of times when I get hired for jobs, I'm coming in and there's nobody that's already in the job. This person in that job is already gone. They're usually gone. And so I have to figure it out myself. Sometimes the owners and so on can make you know, like help you and everything. But it's like lots of times I had to figure it out myself. But this time she was there for probably a week, maybe a little longer, you know, before she left. So she was able to show me a lot of the job. Anyway, yeah, it's like so. So it's like when she left, you know, I just continued it. And like I said, it's like I started looking for a job 6 months into it because it was such a crappy job. The morale was very bad. Actually, it had the worst morale I've ever seen in any place I ever worked in. I've worked in, like, if you've been watching my videos, it's like I worked at a lot of different companies and stuff. Some of them were just short stint things, temp stuff, and you know, things like that. You know, companies. You know, so anyway. Had the worst morale I'd ever seen. Certain departments were okay. The morale was okay. They didn't have to report to Bob Vasey or something, or maybe he was intimidated by them. You know, the doctors were kind of oblivious. I don't really blame the doctors so much because they were kind of oblivious to how bad he was. I think it was just later. At one point, we went through a merger with another smaller group of clinics and so on. So Santa Monica Bay Physicians it was on 15th Street, and it was like the tallest building around. It was like 15 stories, and we had the top 2 stories of the building. I was on the 14th floor, and my office I had a little tiny office. And then you know, and then there was an office that was larger than mine. It certainly wasn't big, and it had the 2 accounting clerks that reported to me. Initially, the billing department was going to be reporting to me, and the billing department was kind of big. You know, it was a decent sized room, and I want to say there was like at least 6 people in the billing department. The woman that ran that I believe her name was Sandy. I don't remember her last name, recall her last name right now. She ran that, but initially I was going to do that, and then Bob Vasey decided, no, it's like they'll just, you know, Sandy will just report to him. So I was fine with that. So I had 2 accounting clerks, which handled, like, payroll, basically the receivables, you know, and payables, and so on. And then I did, you know, of course, everything else, bank reconciliations and financial statements and so on. Let's see. What else? We had a CPA. Her name was Susan Bathory. I think she's back east now, and I think she's still working. Anyway, she was our CPA, and she was coming in once in a while, and along with one of her assistants, she was there too. So, you know, the assistant, I told him a different story about the assistant telling me the story about the earthquake and stuff, what she went through, you know, during the earthquake. But anyway, so let's see. It's like, so we had on the 15th floor. The records department was on there was like sort of a 16th floor, but it wasn't really a floor. It was like the elevator did not go up to the 16th floor, but actually there was like a floor, and it was a partial floor, and it was like the billing, not the billing department, the records department was up there. So which were, you know, all the records, medical records, before they were like digitized and stuff on computers and stuff. It was like they were in files and so on. So that was, and there was a guy in charge of it, and I don't remember his name. But I would interact with him once in a while and stuff, you know. I didn't really interact with the doctors all that much. I mean, once in a while, one would come in for a question and stuff, and Bob was so intimidated and stuff, you know, and he was so worried that I was going to say something that I shouldn't say to the doctors, which is horseshit. It's you know, they come in and they sit down and ask some questions and stuff, and then he'd get like all like kind of paranoid, you know. Well, what do you want? You know, it's like I go, it wasn't anything big. He was just asking about some payroll question, or, you know, something, you know, to do with billing or something. It's like, you know, it wasn't anything big. What was going on? So the other thing that happened was you know, I always streamline systems when I can, and I also you know, if I can make things, I like very accurate numbers. Now, in this particular instance with this company, they were on it was accrued, you know, and that's normal. Payables and receivables are accrued, and that's kind of normal for most businesses. Some are on cash basis and stuff. And we did something unusual, and I talked to the CPA about it, and she agreed with me and everything, and pretty much I think Bob did too, that we should actually have our receivables on a cash basis. And the reason so we should do that is because it's accurate. We know exactly what the number is, because they were trying to accrue it. They were like, it was like a guessing game. It's kind of hard to describe it. It was like a guessing game to see how much, you know, because it was healthcare and stuff, how much, you know, like you'd look at an aging, you know, accounts receivable aging, and you'd be trying to figure out how much you're actually going to get and stuff. And it's like, it was just, you know, you're just guessing. You're pulling a number almost out of your ass. So it's like, so what, you know, so I talked to him, we finally talked to him into going to a cash basis, and we explained it to the doctors, and the doctors lots of times were like, you know, they just didn't get it. And we told them there was going to be 1 month, an adjustment period month, where it's going to look really weird. And you know, of course, some of them came back. You know, it's like, and they go, what is it? It's like, we told you it's going to look weird for a month, and until it adjusted, and then the following month it was like perfect, you know, spot on. And what I liked about it is the number was accurate. It's exactly what we were getting in. It's like, so we knew how well we were doing, and what our actual, you know, cash was, you know, what was coming in, you know, funds and so on. So that worked well. So so I was glad I did that. And then I'm going to break this up into another video another time. Anyway.